This is Jason from Horrific Nightmares. Welcome back to Monthly Theme Thursday. Now, this month's theme is Video Nasties, Section 3. And this week, we'll be talking about Night Beast. Night Beast is a 1982 film which runs approximately 81 minutes and is written and directed by Don Dohler, the legend. Unfortunately, he passed away on December 2nd, 2006. Now the stars: Tom Griffith as Sheriff Cinder, Jamie Zemurel as Jamie Lambert, and George Stover as Stephen Price. Now this also has Richard Dizel. Now, he played Mayor Burt Wicker, and why is that important? Well, it's important to me. This whole movie is important to me, as well as Don Dohler and his career. I'm from Maryland. I live about 35 minutes from where Don Dohler lived. And his career, I think, was really cool. He made some really interesting, really cool films, and I actually have them all. One of these days, I'm going to do a director spotlight on Don Dohler. But this was, of course, directed by Don Dohler and had Richard Dizel, which I was talking about a little bit earlier. Now, Richard Dizel was a mainstay in my childhood. He actually played Captain Chesapeake on DC Channel 20, which I used to watch all the time when I was a little kid. He used to introduce cartoons, introduce shows, and they found that he was so good at it that he naturally became our horror host. And I believe they did a documentary on him. I know they've done documentaries on horror hosts before, but Richard Dizel was Count Gore Duvall. And how I used to watch a lot of horror movies when I was a young kid. It was from horror host Count Gore Duvall. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite memories is when I was younger, and on Halloween they decided to play Phantasm, and of course that was introduced by Count Gore Duvall, or Richard Dizel. So another interesting thing about this film, because there's not really much of a story to this one, is that J.J. Abrams was actually 15 when he composed part of the score for Night Beast. I thought that was pretty neat. And he actually did this by corresponding to Don Dohler, because he lived in L.A., and of course Don Dohler lived in Maryland. So they would send tapes back and forth. That was really, really neat. And they do have a little bit on here about that. Also, there is a Troma release of this on Blu-ray, if I'm not mistaken, which was released around the same time as the Vinegar Syndrome. I thought that was a weird way to do things, because usually someone loses the rights to something and someone else buys them and puts it out. Well, these came out around the same time, which I thought was odd. But Troma had actually put it out twice before, and I do have the very important Night Beast release from Troma that also has the documentary called Blood, Boobs, and Beasts, the making of Night Beast with Don Dohler, and it was about his career and stuff like that. And I do recommend it if there's any way you can see it, because it's a fantastic documentary on a very underrated filmmaker. Now, granted, he made B movies. There's no doubt. Now, from what I'm to understand, this was a semi-sequel to the Alien Factor. Now, of course, Don made Alien Factor 2, which was a different movie altogether. But this had a lot of the same characters reprising their roles. Of course, most of the places were set in Maryland, and most of the people he worked with were friends, including George Stover, who I would be surprised if most horror fans haven't seen him in one way or another. So, especially with B movies. But yeah, Night Beast is very simple. You have a beast, or you have an alien that is in a spaceship, and he collides with a asteroid, and it knocks him off course, and he ends up landing on Earth. And of course, the people of Maryland, or Perry Hill, it's supposed to be Perry Hall, but yeah, Perry Hill are supposed to stop him, figure out a way to stop him. There's a lot of blood and gore in this, and it's just a ton of fun. Check out Night Beast if you can. I'm sure the Vinegar Syndrome is still in print. I'm not sure about the Trauma. I know that the Trauma that I have with the documentary was going for big money until Vinegar Syndrome released the Blu-ray. So check it out, and don't forget to check out what Joe picked for Video Nasties Section 3. And remember, guys, physical media matters. And until next time, peace.